Okay, something huge is happening in Indian education right now. It's a massive shift away from just knowing things to actually being able to do things. Today, we're going to break down CBSE's brand new Composite Skill Lab. This is a mandatory change that is seriously going to reshape how millions of students learn.
I mean, just think about that for a second. This vision is really the heart of the whole thing. We're talking about moving away from classrooms where you just sit and memorize to places that are buzzing with energy, where students are actively creating and problem solving. That's the whole philosophy driving this initiative.
So you might be wondering, why this huge change all of a sudden? Well, it's a direct answer to a really big problem that's been around for a while: the modern skills gap.
For decades, the system has been all about theory, memorization, and, acing the exam. And that gets you students with heads full of information, but they often can't actually apply it. But the real world, the world of jobs, it demands the exact opposite. It wants people who can take that knowledge and use it to build something, to solve a real problem, to be ready for a career on day one. And this is the bottom line, right? This says it all. We've got students getting fantastic marks, but when it comes to practical skills, there's a huge gap. And this is the exact disconnect that the Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, is trying to fix. So, what's their solution? Well, it's something completely different. This isn't just another science lab or a new computer room. Nope. This is a whole new concept designed from the ground up to connect what you learn in books to what you can do with your hands. It's called the Composite Skill Lab. And the keywords here are multi-skill and learning by doing. The whole idea is to have one single space where a bunch of different fields that you'd think have nothing to do with each other, all come together. And when they say multi-skill, they are not kidding. I mean, look at this list. In the very same lab, a student could be tinkering with electronics one day, learning the basics of agriculture the next, and then exploring healthcare or even fashion design. The diversity is the whole point.
So it all boils down to this really simple but powerful idea: one single hub where students can get their hands dirty, experiment across a bunch of different industries, and maybe, just maybe, discover a passion they never knew they had.
Okay, but why now? Why this huge push all of a sudden? Well, this isn't just some random idea somebody had. This is a very deliberate, strategic move that's coming right from the top of the country's education policy. This whole thing is being driven by the National Education Policy of 2020, which basically said, hey, we need more practical, hands-on learning in our schools. Then you have the CBSE circulars, which are the official orders making it happen. And finally, the National Curriculum Framework provides the actual playbook. So this is a coordinated, top-down mandate for change. And this quote right here from the policy itself, this is everything. For so long, vocational skills were seen as, well, less important than academic subjects. This statement completely flips that. It says that practical skills are now just as important. Building a working circuit is now considered as valuable as solving a complex equation. Think about that. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. But what does this actually look like inside one of these labs? How does it really work for a student on a typical day?
Well, the framework breaks it all down into 3 core areas to make sure students get a well-rounded experience. First, you've got work with life forms. So think biology, environmental science, maybe even a small garden. Then there's work with machines and materials. This is where you get hands-on with cool stuff like robotics, electronics, and coding. And finally, work with human services, learning practical skills for industries like healthcare or hospitality.
So let's make this super clear with an example. In the old system, if you were studying artificial intelligence, you'd probably spend weeks just reading a textbook, right? Memorizing definitions about machine learning. But now, in the Composite Skill Lab, you take that theory and you immediately put it to work. You'd learn the concepts, and then you would actually code and build a simple, working chatbot. That is the difference. It's that leap from just consuming information to actually creating something with it. Now, we need to be really clear about this. This is not an optional feel-good program. This is a serious, mandatory commitment from CBSE. So let's look at what that means for schools and, more importantly, what the payoff is for the students.
The rules are crystal clear. If you're a new school looking for CBSE affiliation, you have to have one of these labs from day one. It's non-negotiable. And for all the existing schools, well, the clock is ticking. They have a firm deadline of April 2027 to get their labs up and running. CBSE is making it very plain that this is the future.
And the reason they're pushing so hard is because the benefits for students are just massive. You learn by doing, which means you actually remember things. You develop real-life skills that employers are desperate for. You get to try out different career paths way earlier. You build confidence. And, most importantly, you finally see how the stuff you learn in a textbook connects to the world around you.
So when you take a step back and look at the big picture, you realize this is about way more than just a new room in a school. This is a fundamental change in the entire philosophy of what education is supposed to be. And a shift this big means everyone's role has to evolve. Teachers are no longer just lecturers at the front of the room. They become facilitators, guides who help students with their projects. And for parents, it means learning to get just as excited about a project their kids successfully built as they do about a 100 on a math test.
Honestly, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? We're moving from a system that only measures what you can memorize to one that values what you can actually do, what you can create. Your capability becomes just as important as your knowledge.
So the biggest takeaway here is pretty simple. The Composite Skill Lab isn't just an add-on. It's a powerful signal that the very definition of a good education in India is changing for good.
And that leaves us with a big question, right? Is this the hands-on revolution that's finally going to equip students for the real challenges of the 21st century? Well, I guess the answer to that is going to unfold in thousands of these labs all across the country.